Greetings, movie enthusiasts. Been a while since I said that. Today's worst of 2016 is also a throwback of sorts because the film itself was released in 2008, but I watched it for the first time last year, so without further ado, here is my review on Vacancy 2, The First Cut. Vacancy 2, The First Cut is the sequel to 2007's Vacancy. First of all, this film is not actually a sequel, it was actually a prequel, and a poorly done prequel at that. I'm trying to find a more eloquent way of saying shit, but I just keep coming back to the word shit to describe this film. The purpose of a prequel is to explain or set up the events that occur in the previous film, to give it more of a backstory, some substance for the audience, if you will. This is their main function. This is not what this film did at all. They put a bunch of stuff together and called it macaroni. Okay, no, they didn't. Actually, they made a film on the premise of it being a sequel, and then, probably knowing there is no way to make a sequel work if you have actually seen Vacancy, so they decided the next best thing was to do a prequel. Which logically makes sense until you realize they did not even attempt to make this film relate to the original in any way. What are those words I'm thinking of? Oh yeah, epic fail. The film starts off with a written narrative establishing its timeline and that this takes place prior to the events in Vacancy. Instantly, I am rolling my eyes. It then establishes that originally at this motel, the owner was a distributor of voyeuristic pornography. They would film couples or cheaters without their knowledge having sex and then sell them at a marketable price. So the first thing we're introduced to is a newly married couple desperately trying to get it on. How horrifically cliche. Unfortunately, the owner and his accomplice find themselves watching and recording a serial killer murdering a woman we can assume was a prostitute he picked up. And so sets up the plot to Vacancy, where people distribute snuff films, real-life footage of murders. May seem all good and well, except where none of this ties into the original film. This is in fact a completely separate story. They have not even attempted to replicate the motel from the first film. Instead, we have a completely new hotel. The owner of the motel is a completely different actor, yet he is shaved and dressed to appear exactly like the owner from the first film. Which is almost okay until he gets killed, in which case they majorly just screwed up their own timeline. The pervert motel owner and accomplice, because face it, that's what they are, have been talked into this snuff film idea by the serial killer they have caught, who actually takes over and starts running the show. Again, this is nothing like the original. They have also reused the truck driver who collects the tapes, which is in the first film, but in this one they've rewritten him as some kind of mastermind behind the operation, which he never actually was. How many screw-ups is that now? I've lost count. The style of the snuff films is completely different. By that I mean a person is tied to a chair and then stabbed and tortured to death, and then their bodies are dumped under the motel. But this is actually hardly shown on screen. Also, we see the camera in the footage, whereas in the original, the snuff films are done in a style where at first glance you don't know they're snuff films. And the bodies are disposed in an efficient way to ensure no suspicion. By the end of the film, the serial killer and the trucker are working together to do more snuff films. Our motel owner and his accomplice are dead, and one surviving victim who went straight to the police and told them everything. It is not humanly possible for our severely burned serial killer to have hidden all of the evidence in time. Yet he did, including the bodies. 5 bodies, mind you. The surviving victim tells her story, but the police don't believe it due to lack of evidence. Her fiancé, his best friend, and the motel workers have all vanished, and the police don't believe her story? None of this makes sense. These are 2 separate films using the same plot, only one was successful and one was not. Vacancy had a clever story, a great setup, and the perfect dose of build-up and suspense, which has you jumping out of your seat many times throughout the film. This so-called prequel gives you none of that. A dreadful setup with no build-up or suspense and horribly shot camera angles where we are always watching the characters from the camera being positioned below them and pointed up. Why? I'm not sure. The film dives into things too fast and has no natural progression, and I know I keep saying this, but it was neither a sequel nor a prequel because it frankly had zilch to do with the previous film. When I learned there was a Vacancy 2, I couldn't see how they could pull it off, and the answer is they couldn't. This film was horribly written, horribly filmed, and poorly acted. It was a terrible idea from start to finish. They wanted to execute a good sequel. Well, it got executed alright, just not the way they hoped. Would just like to mention, it took me 3 attempts to finish this film due to extreme boredom. I don't know why this got an R rating, since we pretty much never see anything R rated. Do not waste your time seeing this film. Watch the original and keep it at that. Before I let you go, I have another shout out today. Today's shout out goes to Cinemum. If I have pronounced that wrong, I truly apologize. I'm a moron. But besides that, go and check out her channel. There she has an extensive list of reviews, so you won't be strapped for content. Also, go follow her on social media. All the necessary links are posted in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and take pity on me and my poor little channel. Or just like this video, and be sure to stay tuned for what's next in my worst of 2016 list. Until next time, bye!